We love you, our president. We respect you. We honor you. We adore you. We will never let you down. When you raise your hand, when you raise the silver, Mama, 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 Kuti dress up about God to get. What will you say? Hello, Coco.
Andibulele mphathi wohle mama umphathiswa apha ephondweni umama Jodina tozobawo lo mcimbi siubambe lapha namhlanje Nelson Mandela Metro ngumcimbi kazwelonke xa sithetha apha nje sithetha kumzantsi wonke loo nto ke ithetha uba sizawubetha ngesingesi kwenzela uba kuzwe wonke umuntu olapha eMzantsi ingathi uba wakhumsha ke lo mfo namhlanje wakhumsha oko khumshela uba nothetha isisuthu nothetha iphini ave nothetha isingesi nothetha isibhulu ave ningathuki ke into zoba. Premier of the Eastern Cape Province, Mr. Phumulo Moswala, the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, ministers and deputy ministers who are present here today, Executive Mayor of the Nelson Mandela Bay Metro, Dr. Danny Jordan, members of Parliament nationally and members of the provincial legislatures present here, MECs and councillors present here today, the Vice Chancellor of Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University, Professor Derek Swart, traditional leaders who are here, and religious leaders in our midst. Distinguished guests, fellow South Africans, I greet you all. Molweni, Sanbonani, Dumelang. We are happy to be hosted by the people of the friendly city of Port Elizabeth, Epai, on this important day in the country's national calendar, the Day of National Reconciliation. We have come to the right city for this event, giving the heroes and heroines that lie buried in PE, who dedicated their lives to freedom, justice, equality, and human rights. From Vuyisile Mini to Governor Mbeki and Raymond Mhlaba and many others, they fought for freedom. We salute them all on this important day. The Day of National Reconciliation enables us to reflect on the painful history of our country. We went through a system of government that promoted divisions and hatred, and which sustained its rule through violence and subjugation. It was a system of rule that traumatized millions of people in various ways and caused untold pain and suffering among the people. When the ANC government came into power in 1994, we immediately set out to build a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, united, and prosperous society. National reconciliation became one of the key policies of the democratic government. Our message to our people since 1994, which we repeat today is that we are one nation. We are one people, united in our diversity. The preamble of the Constitution underscores the resolve we took to overcome the brutality and pain of the past and move together to a common future. The Constitution says, and I quote, "We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this Constitution as the supreme law of the Republic, so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people, and every citizen is equally protected by law. Improve the quality of life of all citizens and free the potential of each person, and build a united and democratic South Africa, able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people." Unquote. We chose 16 December as a day of national reconciliation because this day symbolized the divisions of the past before 1994. The day meant different things to different people, depending on their racial or ethnic background, or even their ideological orientation. For some, it was the symbol of triumph over others. The Afrikaner community, for an example, marked the 16th of December as the Day of the Covenant. To the black majority, it was a potent symbol of resistance, as the day on which Umkhonto weSizwe, the military wing of the African National Congress, was formed. When freedom dawned, the 16th of December became a day for the promotion of unity, healing, and reconciliation. We have done a lot to promote reconciliation in our country since 1994. However, inspired by Amilcar Cabral, when he said, and I quote him, "Tell no lies, claim no easy victory," unquote. We must readily accept that we still have many challenges which undermine the achievement of total reconciliation of our nation. Top among these are poverty, inequality, and unemployment, which still persist. It is for this reason that the theme for this year's Day of Reconciliation is, and I quote, "Bridging the divide, building a common South African nationhood towards a national developmental state," unquote. The theme reminds us that true reconciliation cannot be achieved simply by forgiving and forgetting the historical injustice of the past. Another incorrect assumption that is sometimes made is that reconciliation simply means the absence of vengeance and retribution. It is much deeper than that. To ensure success, the reconciliation project must be accompanied by a deliberate collective resolve to deal with the material basis of social divisions, such as poverty, landlessness, as well as economic inequality. If we fail to do that, we will not succeed in uniting all our people, regardless of race, class, region, religion, culture, language, and other social constructions used to divide humanity. The former chairperson of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the highly regarded father and elder in our country, Archbishop Desmond Tutu, once warned us about misconceptions of reconciliation. He said, and I quote, "There are erroneous notions of what reconciliation is all about. There are erroneous notions of what reconciliation is all about. Reconciliation is not about being cozy. It is not about pretending that things were other than they were. Reconciliation based on falsehood, not on facing up to reality, is not reconciliation and will not last," unquote. Reconciliation is hard work, and we must undertake that work together. Today, I want to thank South Africans for the attempts they have made thus far towards the goal of achieving unity and reconciliation. Let me thank the Black community of South Africa. Despite the terrible injustices meted out against them, the Black majority made the choice not to seek revenge. They chose to build a country that belongs to all who live in it, black and white. This was not a sign of weakness. It was a bold and courageous act of patriotism which puts the interests of our country first. Namhlanje sithanda ukubonga abantu abamnyama ngokuvula izinhliziyo zabo bamukele uxolo nokubuyisana ngo-1994 ngaphezu kokuhlukumezeka abadlula kukho ngesikhathi sobandlululo. Ngokwenza lokhu, abantu abamnyama babeka izwe phambili, bafuna ukuthi izwe labo libe nempumelelo, babona ukuthi intuthuko ngeke ilakhe, babona ukuthi intukuthelo ngeke ilakhe izwe. Siyabonga kakhulu mzi onsundu. I am singling out the black majority because while the lives of millions have changed considerably since 1994, the poverty and inequality that still persist delay the enjoyment of the dividends of freedom for many who are still waiting for basic services and opportunities. The socio-economic transformation programs of the democratic government are designed to ensure that we succeed in reversing the legacy of decades of apartheid, and a lot has been done already. Millions of our people now have access to services they did not have during apartheid. They have water, electricity, housing, roads, clinics, and others, where these services are still to come. People live in hope because there is a government in place whose mission is to improve the quality of life of all. But we must admit one fact: the inequality is still way too high in our country, especially amongst black and white compatriots. The income distribution is still racially skewed in favor of white South Africans, with the Africans still at the bottom of the food chain. The census of 2011 stated that the income of the average white household remains 6 times that of the average African household. The census found that the average annual income of African households is at about 60,000 rand per annum. In comparison, the census found that the income of the average white household stood at more than 350,000 rand per annum. Close to 1.9 million African households reported no income at all. These are some of the households that survive on income support from government through social grants. This means we must continue to work harder together, black and white, to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor, black and white, in order to achieve true reconciliation. We should also remember that very few companies on the Johannesburg Stock Exchange are black-owned or black-controlled. Economic transformation is thus still in infancy. Annual employment equity reports each year also report dismal figures with regards to the management of the economy. White males are still very much in control as chief executive officers or in running the boards of various conglomerates. This then indicates that we still have a long way to go towards reversing the legacy of apartheid. However, we have policies and programs in place, and work is continuing towards that goal. Our broad-based black economic empowerment and employment equity programs are designed and designated to transform the ownership, control, and management of the South African economy. We are also introducing deliberate empowerment programs such as the Black Industrialist Program to promote access to the ownership and control of our manufacturing sector. We also want to see more young people entering the small business sector, creating opportunities and jobs for themselves. All these programs are designed to promote true reconciliation and unity in our country, and must be supported by all, especially the privileged. Compatriots, our country has positive prospects for growth, development, given that we are essentially a nation of young people. Just over a third of the population is under the age of 15. In this regard, our focus on improving the quality of education is well placed. Our task is to conscientize our youth to not only be beneficiaries of reconciliation, they must also work to achieve it. All youth, black and white, must know and fully understand the historical injustice of the past in the country so that they can build a solid non-racial future. It was thus encouraging to see black and white students marching together in support of free education recently. We congratulate our youth as they clearly took forward the country's traditions of non-racial struggle and of being a united and non-racial South Africa. Compatriots, let me take this opportunity of being on a university campus to update you on the 0% increase agreement implementation process. I had appointed a task team to deal with the question of no fees increase for the coming financial year, and it has reported back. A short-term solution for the no-fee increment is already in the process of being implemented. The 2.3 billion rand that is required will be shared among government and universities. Universities have already received allocation letters addressing the financial shortfall. 50% of government's portion of the shortfall, which 83% will be transferred to institutions in January 2016. And the rest in April 2016. Universities are responsible for the 17%. We trust that we will work well together in the new year to ensure that all students receive education and are not hindered from doing so by unruly elements on some campuses. It is very important for those who have to take action for their demands that they must understand what are the demands, where they begin, where they end. We should not have others who take advantage of that situation to advance unknown interests. And by so doing, disadvantage the young people who really need education. So we are pleading that the understanding should be there within the country. And we'd want not just government and the universities to play a role. Parents too must find a way to play a role about their children. Compatriots, let me touch on the important point of healing. Reconciliation must go hand in hand with healing. Building the physical landscape of the country is easier than healing the hearts and building the soul of a nation. Since 1994, we have focused a lot on bricks and mortar. We have not deliberately created the space for people to heal through telling the stories of the brutality of the past and to share their experiences. In the coming year, we should prioritize the promotion of healing. People need to tell their stories. We want to hear the stories of mothers in the townships and villages, the stories of MK combatants, former political prisoners, former detainees, and ordinary people who daily faced a difficult life under the apartheid regime. We welcome the program of the June 16 Foundation, which enables former South African Defence Force conscripts to share their experiences as part of healing. Many were forced into the apartheid Defence Force to fight against their compatriots. We want to hear their stories. We also need to hear the stories of many of those who refused to be part of the apartheid Defence Force. Under the campaign led by the courageous End Conscription campaign during the 1980s. They are heroes of the struggle for freedom. Their stories must be told. We want to hear the stories of organizations such as the Black Sash, which marks 60 years of existence this year. These are women who refused to turn a blind eye to the evils of apartheid, despite the privileges that their white skin gave them. They are heroines of the struggle for liberation. We must also hear stories of Indian and colored compatriots who also waged relentless struggles in the mass democratic movement to achieve a free South Africa. They also decided that the many privileges offered by the apartheid state would not make them lose sight of the goal of the liberation of their country and equal citizenship for all. In the new year, we will discuss within government what programs we must engage in more visibly to promote healing in our communities. We cannot do this alone as government. We are thus happy that the religious sector is already doing something about it. I met the leadership of the South African Council of Churches in Pretoria yesterday. We all know the heroic role played by the South African Council of Churches in the struggle for liberation in our country. The South African Council of Churches will today launch a program called the South Africa We Pray For in Soweto. The program is anchored on healing and reconciliation, the fight against corruption, and the promotion of socio-economic transformation and development, directly working with the communities on the ground. We wish the South African Council of Churches well with this program, as it will contribute to the national task of finding peace and true reconciliation. We have committed government to fully support this program. We will meet the South African Council of Churches in the new year to discuss the program further. We know that other religious formations also have programs that are designed to promote healing. We support all these programs. We urge our people to participate in these programs and ensure that we promote healing and reconciliation. We should all play our part through embracing and promoting the values of Ubuntu, which include human solidarity, generosity, hospitality, friendship, caring, compassion, harmony, forgiveness, and neighborliness. This will take us far towards true reconciliation. Compatriots, reconciliation is a process. Healing is a process. We will not achieve these overnight. In other words, we need to work for it. We need to work for it in every sector of our society. We need to talk about it. There is something we have not done to address the wounds, either physically or mentally, of the apartheid system. We took other things for granted. For an example, we have never addressed the issue of violence appropriately. Where does it come from? Why are our people so violent? We had to deal with a system that was very violent. It therefore produced a counter-violence. Those who were subjugated by apartheid with violence, they believed in order to get rid of apartheid, they must use the violence to liberate themselves. Hence the belief that any confrontation with the authority must be violent. That's a culture that comes from apartheid era. What we did not do was to tell ourselves that the kind of authority we have now is no longer the authority of the oppressor. It is our authority, our own government. If during apartheid, when we're making, as President Tambo called, the apartheid unworkable and its state ungovernable, and therefore doing everything to ensure that we disrupt apartheid. That is different from our own government. We cannot repeat the same methods that we used then to our government. This, all of us, we did not address from 1994. We took things for granted. So it is a duty as we deal with the healing and reconciliation that from political parties, this must be a running program. As we talk to the people, let us address these matters. But equally, the churches and all other religious formations, they should talk about this matter, educate the society, make the difference between the yesterday of apartheid and today of a democratic government. All organizations, traditional, this must be the theme, because otherwise, at times, we exaggerate our problems and make people think that South Africans are funny people, whilst in reality, people envy to be South Africans. That must come also to our narrative about our country, the progress we have made, because all of those will talk to our minds, our hearts, our soul, whether South Africa is doing right or not. And therefore it will talk to healing, it will talk to reconciliation. It's a duty of everyone in the country, young and old. Compatriots, we must work hard together and move our country forward to a united and reconciled future. Happy National Reconciliation Day to you all. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you indeed, Mr. President, His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, with a consistent message from a democratic government.